Hello everyone, Mrs. O'Brien here. Here's our recording for September 5th. As always, let's go ahead and pause the recording, go over these starter questions. This is review from yesterday, and get the answers in your notes, please. Today we're going to be analyzing the causes and effects of the French and Indian War. So of course you're going to need your notes. And the skill we're practicing today is historical analysis and interpretation because we are looking at both multiple perspectives of this war as well as the causes and effects of this war. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pause this recording for a second and give you this link. This link is just a quick video previewing the French and Indian War. This is actually a trailer made for a PBS series. So if you're interested in watching more of the PBS series called The War That Made America, it's a great series. PBS does a lot of good documentaries, but this is a trailer that they made, but it's a pretty good kind of preview to what we're going to talk about with this war. So I'll go ahead and pause the recording now and give you the link. Okay, so here are your basic facts you need to know about the French and Indian War. So you want to make sure you get these in your notes. The French and Indian War is what us here in America call it, but it was actually the beginning of the 7 Years' War. So if you remember back to world history and this fight between the French and the English that happens in Europe, it also happens here in North America. And we call the beginning part the French and Indian War. Okay, so who's actually fighting? It's the French fighting the English, okay? And what are they fighting over? They're fighting over land, specifically our land here in North America. Who is going to have control over North America? Where or what land are they fighting over is the Ohio River Valley in Canada, and I'll show you a map of specifically where that is in a moment. It's going to last from 1754 to 1763, and then why the English had control of North America, or I should say English had control of the East Coast. The French are going to be more towards what we would consider the Midwest today, and they're fighting over ultimately who's going to have control. Of course, we know the English are going to win because we were English colonies, but that's the why behind this war. Okay, so here is a map of North America in 1700, and you're going to want to use the key to see all the different countries involved. But British or England is represented by this red color, and of course we know that's the East Coast. The French is represented by this green color. So you see the French have a big stronghold on North America because not only do they have what we'd kind of consider the Midwest today, they have Canada too. The Spanish are going to be represented by orange, and this tan color, that's the disputed land. That's the land they're fighting over that they're not really sure who owns it. So when we say the Ohio River Valley, we're talking about all this land in here. This is really what they're fighting over to decide who should have control over this land. Now, when we fast forward a little bit and we look at the date of this map, so this is 1763, this is when the French and Indian War is over, notice how much it has changed, okay? So the English are represented by this blue, and you could see that England now has the stronghold, okay? They have much of the land that France had before. French is represented by orange, so you notice they're pretty much gone from North America, except they do still have a little bit control on this island. Spain is going to be the green, so Spain took some of France's land as well as the land they had. And then it also shows us some areas that Russia had control over up here in Alaska. So from looking at this map to looking at this map, you can see how much is going to change in terms of European control over North America as a result of this war. Okay, the first thing you're going to do today is read this introduction about the French and Indian War and answer some questions. Your answers to the questions should go in your notes. I'm also going to put this PDF document in the online high school with the recording. So if this is hard for you to read on the screen, I know it's a lot of text, you could use the PDF document. So make sure you go to the online high school if you want to use the PDF document. Here is the second page of the introduction. Here are the questions I'd like you to answer in your notes about that introduction essay. All right, next in your notes, I'd like you to split them up so that you have three categories. You have the French perspective of the war, you have the American perspective of the war, and you have the Native American perspective of the war. So as you read each of these different perspectives, you should be jotting down notes that tell you how they felt about the war, why they were involved in the war, what happened to them during the war, that type of information. Okay, here is our first perspective for you to read over. This perspective is also in the PDF. This is the French perspective. There are questions down at the bottom. These questions will help you identify what you should pay attention to about this particular paragraph. If you want, you can answer these questions in your notes, or you can just jot down what you learn. But use these questions. I would actually recommend you read these questions first and then go ahead and read the paragraph. Here is our second perspective. This is the English perspective. So go ahead, pause that recording and read this over and take down your notes. Finally, here's our last perspective. This is the Native American perspective. Go ahead, pause, read, and jot down notes. Okay, so even though the English are going to win this land, England is still going to forbid colonists from moving west. And the main reason is because of conflict with the Native Americans. And this war is going to cost Britain a lot of money. They don't want to have to keep dealing with colonists and Native Americans fighting with each other, basically over the land, because the Native Americans are still going to be inhabiting this land. So England gives what's known as the Proclamation of 1763, and basically the proclamation makes a line, and it tells the colonists that this whole area right here is going to be this invisible line, and they're not to go over it. They're not to cross it. They are not to fight with the Native Americans. They are to stay on the East Coast, okay? So now I want you to think about all three of those perspectives, and how do you think each group is going to feel about this proclamation of 1763? So you can go back to your notes where you had your French perspective, your English perspective, and your Native American perspective, and then just tell me what you think. What do you think the French are going to think about the proclamation of 1763? What do you think the English colonists are going to think about the proclamation of 1763? And then what do you think the Native Americans are going to think about the proclamation of 1763? I forgot a code word once again. Today's code word will be easy. It's war. War is the code word for today. Here's your exit ticket. Make sure you answer your exit ticket and put your code word in the online high school. Thanks, everyone. One more recording tomorrow.